Apparently it's advantage Arjun right now, according to the eval bar. Very slight, but you can see why. Black's piece is now centralized.
When you're the side with the isolated queen spawn, you have to play for activity and attack. Now what Arjun set up, which was impossible before, is that jump that you were earlier talking about, knight e4. It's unstoppable now. With the black rook lined up against the white queen, the queen gone back to defend that knight. Knight e4 is almost a pre-move that you want. He might make it now or on the next move. But the moment that knight lands there, the other knight getting to e5, you can see the makings of some initiative in the position. A big threat meanwhile. Rook and queen lined up against the white queen. Watch out, d4 is Arjun's idea.
Yeah, d4, watch out. There might be knight d4 ideas as well in the near future. Hikaru is hating what has just happened. It was a bit of a shake of the head. He's telling himself to calm down. Look at that gesture. He's saying, you still got this. It's still roughly a level position. But white's advantage from earlier, big advantage of the bishop pair, of the better pawn structure, it has disappeared. White's knight is so badly misplaced right now, and black is ready, poised, all the black pieces centralized to blow open that center.
It does feel like we've lost maybe losing the thread a little bit. Those rooks on the c-file targeting the knight that can't be moved, like you said, David. The knight going back to b1, it's starting square instead of developing elsewhere or going to e2. It's not necessarily that any of these are bad or losing moves. It's more that we've given Arjun Aragaisi the time he needs to put his own plan together, and it's like giving him a couple of moves to get his pieces into better positions, and now it feels like it's Hikaru responding to Arjun rather than the other way around.
100%, you know, like we said, two plans against the isolated queen spawn. You either attack it or place a piece in front of it. Hikaru has not managed to make do of any of these plans in the last 10 moves or so. While Arjun, he's made all his pieces active, knight e4 always incoming, that g5, hinting at g4 at the right spot. And you know, we saw Hikaru tell himself to calm down earlier, and that's something that we've seen a storyline with Hikaru throughout in Riyadh. You know, he up-talks himself, and that's been fascinating. Forces himself, wills himself to make a move. When things go wrong, he tells himself to take it easy, that, you know, he's still got this, there's still everything to play for. I am the most resourceful player on the planet. When he's frustrated, you can see those head shakes. But the one sign to look out for every player is when Hikaru raises a finger. That's when we know that it's game over.
Even
when
better
he starts
than the
twirling his fingers, making them go round and round, telling chat, you know, I got this, that's bad news. I haven't seen that happen this game so far.
Yeah, he hasn't got it yet, Hikaru, although the last few moves have been a bit better for him. The white knight at least has developed. Black knight now hitting the white bishop. If the white bishop moved, then black would have been pushing forward in the center. Now things are getting spicy. The white knight stepping back, allowing a doubling of the white pawns. Arjun said no. He's trying to open up lines towards the white king instead. This is a race. If white gets the knight on d4, stabilizes, white has the advantage. If black gets the knights in, gets the black queen in, white king might be in danger.
Clock's looking relatively equal as well. 4 minutes 37, playing at just over 5 minutes at the moment, so less of a discrepancy than the previous game. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out too.
But this from a positional battle has become very tactical, and Hikaru stops the move queen h4, which would have threatened a deadly checkmate on h2. He's very unhappy that he's had to do this. It weakens a lot of light squares around the white king. The black knight can reroute itself. Do that f3 square. A lot of ideas. The queen can jump onto g5 and then target the h line. Queen g5, queen h5. Also a plan. Arjun's on the attack.
Arjun on the attack. This last move given a question mark. It's not obvious what could have been better for white. It does prevent the black queen from landing on h4. White just needs 2 more moves. You need to get the white queen to a better square. You need to get the white knight into the center. But that is not easy to achieve. Okay, the black queen slides across. Black rooks could jump up as well. Use the 6th rank to lift and slide towards the white king. Arjun, he's got to nail this with an attack though, because long term, white still slightly for choice, with the isolated queen's pawn still living on this board.
If the majors come off the board, Hikaru Nakamura would be close to winning the endgame. But the endgame is a far way off right now. Arjun's getting ready to set up some checkmating ideas. Is he going to rush through with it? Queen h6 comes to mind right now. Also, always in the air is neutralizing that isolated queen's pawn with d4. So a break that needs to be timed well. Arjun first threatens a checkmate in one.
That's what I was about to ask, because the knight moving away from the e2 square, there we go, means that we open up to d4. An exchange of queens is going to happen first, though, and that's going to be I actually don't know who that's a bigger sigh of relief for, because potential checkmating attacks were there on both sides of the board. But there's still plenty of life left in this game. A pair of knights and 2 rooks per player. Lots of danger still around.
And white is the first to get to the 7th rank, where there are still a bunch of targets the white rooks can infiltrate right now. We'll learn a lot about Hikaru's mindset over the next couple of moves. If he's happy to just try and trade off a set of rooks, maybe trade off the knights, it will end in a draw. But Hikaru could still go for it. Maybe he could trade off a set of rooks in the process. He can go to the top of the board. He can go to the 7th rank. There's 2 white rooks. He's going to move one of them. And still not over. There we go. He tries to trade off black's more active rook. And when the black knight retreats, he'll land on the 7th rank. This isn't over, despite the fact the eval bar says 0.0, despite the fact it's symmetrical. Hikaru does enjoy these positions.
It's going to be a bit of a grind right now, and especially because he's got the extra seconds. Who's happier with everything that's happened in the last few moves? You know, with Arjun neutralizing that weakness at the center of the board. If you'd asked this question 10 moves ago, it would definitely be Arjun. But the way the game was developing, you know, with Arjun creating those ideas, Hikaru not looking happy on the camera, I think he's happy to see this endgame right now. He knows he can play it on forever. It's absolutely safe for white, and I think he likes what he's gotten.
Very similar time situation to a couple of games ago, where the time advantage is roughly 45 seconds right now, which is fine in the middle game, but once we get to the end game and we start seeing the players go below 2 minutes, starts to become pretty critical. And the player with more time here, Hikaru Nakamura.
Just want to point out, Hikaru's won a pawn. You cannot defend that pawn on a6. If the black rook had come up, there would have been a check, some knight forks, and there we go. Hikaru Nakamura, a pawn to the good. That's the first step.
Pawn. Black's threatening to come in with his own rook, but notice how the knight on h3 defends f2, the rook on a6 defends a2. So sure, you can infiltrate with your rook. If you're Arjun, he first stops any knight jumps on g5, creates a lift for his own king to come towards the center of the board. But you get into rook e2. That really doesn't help you because everything's defended for white.
Yep, everything held for now with white. The white rook slides across. Hikaru trying to kick the black knight out, given a question mark. If rooks disappear, it's going to be a clear win for white. The white pawns are going to be too strong on that left side, especially the white A pawn. So he needs to get rooks off, but Arjun cannot allow that.
Is the pawn given back now after knight c1? Because wherever the white rook goes, the knight can either capture a pawn, or the black rook can come in to help via e2 or a8, depending on how white responds. Is this just the pawn right back?
It does look like it. I'm very surprised Hikaru moved his rook away, as it's needed to defend anyway. Maybe he's hoping to deflect the black knight, the black rook, in order to get the white knight over to f4. He's actually going for the black b pawn instead, but this can be held. The black rook can defend that one.
You just slide it over, do a rook lift, defend your pawn, and the a2 pawn's still under fire.
Well, Hikaru reacts, just missing this last move, it appears. Giving back the advantage, the small advantage he had claimed. Okay, the pawn survives, but it won't survive much longer. It's about to get caught by the black rook, the black knight. The white knight, meanwhile, so offside.
That is the biggest problem for Hikaru right now. You know, you pick up that knight, put it somewhere in the center of the board, and Hikaru is close to winning. But that knight not coming to defend, yes, you can fall back with your rook, but then it'll be Arjun's knight that'll start chasing it around the board. I think this is about to neutralize, liquidate, and we might be getting an Armageddon sooner than we thought.
I think that looks like the most likely outcome. You can see the paths the black knight can take to try and support the pawn, not even going to go for that. We are just instantly grabbing it off the board, and now it is rook knight and 2 versus rook knight and 2. This is as equal as the position has been pretty much all game. There are still some fun things to do because white's knight is significantly more centralized, but that list of things you can do starting to dwindle by the second.
The white knight wants to land either on e6 or h5, and the black g7 pawn is the target. But ultimately, that pawn can move, can maybe be just defended. And there we go. Arjun defends the other pawn, allowing the g pawn to step forward. If the white knight moves, the black knight is out of its box. And this game fizzling towards a draw. 1.5 minutes. Do we expect Hikaru to try and hustle on time here? It's still risk-free for white, but ultimately not many resources left on the board.
I think he's going to play on for just a little bit more. You know, with Arjun 125, if Arjun takes a couple of seconds every move, that might not be ideal. And Arjun's still sort of struggling finding the right place for his rook and knight. Arjun's king feeling a little bit tied down to the white rook and knight. Something to play for. White's king has a clear path on the light squares to come forward and maybe even potentially create an attack. Hikaru there starts with a pawn move, tying down. black spawns there. An attack on the knight, retreats, some checks, watch out, knight e6 would win a pawn. I think Hikaru plays this on.
Yeah, Arjun's not liking this. Again, he doesn't like playing the role of defender in general, but especially when he's got no chances to win the game. And the white knight could still use some squares. The black rook currently can slide across the 5th rank, potentially to defend some stuff. But Hikaru, will he keep testing his opponent? It's a bullet game essentially for Arjun Erigaisi down at the 1 minute mark. He could well get this Hikaru. He's well within his rights to play on. It's not dead drawn yet.
All right, huge threat. The pawn on g7 about to fall. Will Arjun take a big decision? You can move it, but then you're really weakening your king and also leaving behind that f pawn. Hikaru is ready for the fight. He does target that f6 pawn, which is not easy to defend. Hikaru for the second time about to go up a pawn.
It's impossible to defend that pawn. Arjun suddenly leaned forward, panicking now. The black pieces should still be able to hold this thing together, but g5 so weak right now. There are going to be some checks. This game's going to be a long grind, and Hikaru starts with an extra 35 seconds as well. He's got the board position, he's got the clock position. This is Hikaru Nakamura's bread and butter. Is he going to get it though? Arjun needs to get the rooks off the board. He needs to get all the pieces off before he runs out of time.
Hikaru has won thousands and thousands of such positions. Technically a draw should be an easy hold for a player of Arjun's level, but put that mix of a 40-second on the clock, both clocks gone red, it's going to be a time scramble. The only one who can come on top, but you have to watch out. There are knights for both sides. But it's Hikaru who's feeling he's playing for 2 results here.
The white king is soon going to come in. The white knight is going to improve itself. Hikaru should not lose this. Watch out, there are knight forks. The king is coming. As soon as the checks dry up, the black king might be checked backwards. Hikaru, though, can he find safety? Where's he going to hide his king? Checks continue. He's moving further and further away from the area of the board he wants to be on. But this is all about the clock. 30 seconds first.
If you're missing 5 or more teeth, this might be the most important 30 seconds of your day. There's finally...
Right now, definitely the better of these two players with more practice, has played hundreds of thousands of such games and come out on top 99% of the time. He does keep the pressure, attacks the rook, and look at that, Arjun's taking too long. He's down to about 20 seconds.
There are so many knight forks in the air. Hikaru, he's so good at avoiding those knight checks. The white king is coming. White's got the perfect setup. Black can barely move. The knight is fixed. The black rook is fixed. Hikaru's going to create those threats. 17 versus 26.
And look at Hikaru's eyes. They're darting all across the board. He's fully aware of every single square. He knows he can give a check at the right time, and he will do it. But he'll wait for Arjun to go down on the clock, and that was a blunder.
That was a blunder. The white king can step across now. The black rook is forced to give way, and there's going to be a pin. Arjun's defenses have been tipped over the edge. Fist pump from Hikaru Nakamura. He's getting closer. He's about to win the black knight. This game's about to end.
Any second now, Arjun will play on, but he will not save this. And look at that beautiful finish. He wins the rook king pawn ending. He's going to win this 6 seconds. He could have an R. Arjun could. It will be Hikaru Nakamura who gets that 3rd place.
Hikaru Nakamura in a time scramble, doing what he does best, doing what he is famous for, what the entire world knows him to be the best in the world for. And he thrives under the pressure. He thrives under the pressure of that clock. And in the final game, takes the victory in this 3rd place match.